It's already too bright in the sun. So I need to punch some holes and fertilize the yard. So that means I need to get a lawnmower out, and I need to get my hole punch out, I need to get some weights out, and I need to get the spreader. So let's get into this. So this is a Craftsman 40-inch plug aerator, and I got this back in June of 2011 for $192.59, and we probably use it about 3 times a year. Like everything else I own, I made some upgrades to this. By itself, there's not enough weight on this to actually punch holes in the yard, and I used to put bricks on here, and I would hit a tree root and they would bounce out. So I made 2 weights. Each one is a bag of cement poured into a square mold, and I took some of the leftover chain from the kids' swing set, because I recycle everything, and put it on there so I can use that to lift them up and move them around, and that really works. The second improvement I made was to these tires. Originally they had tires with a tube in them, and it doesn't take but 2 or 3 years and they would go flat, and then they got all brittle. And if you've used a spreader, you know that they only last a couple of years. The fertilizer just destroys all the metal and they rust out. So I took one of my spreaders that had rubber wheels, and I put the solid rubber wheels on there, and I haven't had a problem with a flat tire ever since. There's a handle here that just lifts up and slides down, and when it does, it lowers the little hole punchers into the ground, and that's all it takes. So we just need to ride around and poke holes in your yard, and that way when we put the fertilizer down, the fertilizer has a chance to sort of get into those holes. Otherwise, the first rain we have, all my fertilizer just washes downstream. At first it's hard to tell it even poked holes, but when you get down lower, you can see where it has poked little holes. And once you know what to look for, you can see all the little bits. I have slowed this down so you can see how it works. There's 2 different kinds of aerators. One's got like a knife blade, and the other one actually pokes holes, and it's called a plug aerator, and that's what this is. It goes pretty quick once you get started, and there's only a couple spots in the yard I'm careful about. The first one is from where the camera's sitting to the tree that it's pointing at. There's a low voltage line for lights that's buried there, and I try not to go over that. I'm not sure how deep I buried the low voltage line, but I know these spikes for the aerator plugs go in about 3 inches, and I just don't want to take a chance that I might nick that line and have to dig it up. The other spot would be the garage septic tank drain field. It's got a gravel drain field with a fabric cloth across the top, and I don't want to poke any holes in that fabric cloth because dirt would get in there and that would reduce the efficiency of the drain field. Well, you've got the gist of it. I am going to do the front yard, and then we'll put everything away and get the fertilizer out. And there it is. This is my fertilizer spreader. It's important to check out the spreader every time you use it because it can rust up in between uses. I like to make sure that the little door that the fertilizer falls down through opens and closes, and that I have it set where I want it before I put any fertilizer in it. In addition, I also want to make sure that the gears that spread the fertilizer out that are connected to the wheels work properly. Alrighty. Now we'll close the hopper and fill it up with fertilizer. We got lucky we bought this last year before the prices were crazy. You can store fertilizer that comes in these plastic bags for a long time. You just need to make sure that it's out of the weather. You do not want them to get wet. And the last thing is you need to make sure you feel around, and if there's any clumps, break them up with your hands. You'll just need to wash your hands when you're done because the fertilizer can be hard on your skin. I've got the camera setting up so it's basically looking out over some shady area of the yard, because I'm thinking you'll be able to see the fertilizer get spread easier than you would in direct sunlight. So that's the plan. Let's see if it works. Somehow I still manage to get all my steps in even when I'm riding the lawnmower. So if I have it adjusted right, I get about a 4-foot spray behind the spreader. And hopefully you'll be able to tell that by looking at these passes in front of the camera. When I'm off in the distance doing the spreading, that's not dust behind the lawnmower. That's the fertilizer being spread out. So the only way to find out how you really did on the spreading is after the first rain. Wherever you've got fertilizer is usually a darker green, and it'll tell you where the spots are that you might have missed. Well, there you have it, 2 bags of fertilizer out in the yard. I hope I got everything. At any rate, my brother showed up, so I'm going to visit with him for a while. So we will pick it up when we pick it up. I wonder if you're going to be able to hear the ice cream truck in the background. Well, it's been a couple days and it hasn't really rained. It's sprinkled a couple times, but not rained. But I think we're going to get some rain today. But I think it already looks greener. So now you know what it's like for me to punch holes and fertilize. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, check out those playlists, and I'll see you in that next video.